Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem. I'm Senator Alex Padilla, the senior senator for the state of California. Last June, you were in Los Angeles when you publicly declared that the mission of DHS in Los Angeles was to liberate the people, not just of Los Angeles, but the state of California from its duly elected leaders. The National Guard that was federalized and deployed into Los Angeles to assist DHS in this mission, that whole deployment was deemed unlawful, as I'm sure you are aware. Thankfully, those Guards members and the Marines who were also deployed to assist DHS in Los Angeles have also returned home and to their primary missions. Meanwhile, ICE and CBP are still conducting operations. My first question, the first of several yes or no questions, do you declare mission accomplished?
Senator Padilla, our mission is not accomplished until we get every single illegal criminal out of this country and protect American citizens, until we protect all of our children and these families behind me don't ever have to go through what they had to go through.
I'm trying to ask a question here. Thank you. Trump advisor Steve Bannon, among others close to President Trump, has called for ICE agents to, quote, surround the polls, unquote. However, your acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, has said, quote, there's no reason for us to deploy to a polling facility, unquote. And just last week, your Deputy Assistant Secretary for Election Integrity, Heather Honey, told a bipartisan group of state election officers on a call that ICE would not be present at polling places. I know this question came up earlier, but I have two specifics. One, which is it? Do you, Secretary Noem, agree with Steve Bannon, or your acting ICE director and your Deputy Assistant Secretary?
There are no plans to have ICE officers at polling locations. I'm not certain, Senator, if you're indicating that your party's planning on facilitating illegal aliens voting in our elections.
So I respect that you're saying there's no current plans, but obviously plans can change. No plans is the right answer, but not definitive enough. Sending ICE agents to the polls to intimidate voters is illegal. Yeah. And so I want to ask you explicitly, if President Trump or Stephen Miller directed you to do it anyway, with or without a bogus national emergency declaration, would you say no?
Sir, there is no plans to send ICE officers to polling locations, and we're not planning on doing that. Are you planning on sending illegal aliens to vote?
No,
is that
that's
what
already
you're planning
illegal
to do?
And extremely rare.
But people have done it in the past.
Now, it's amazing,
and
Mr.
that's
Chairman,
what,
that we even
have
have to ask these questions, because just a couple of weeks ago, Secretary Noem, when you visited Arizona, claimed that DHS has authority over certain aspects of elections. So enlighten me here. What statutory authority are you referring to?
The Department of Homeland Security has mitigation responsibility over critical infrastructure, and our election system is defined by statute as critical infrastructure. Therefore, it's under our department to put forward and point out vulnerabilities that may be in our election systems, and then recommend mitigation.
CISA in elections as a former Secretary of State. Third area that I wanted to ask.
I know that states run elections. We just point out vulnerabilities that may exist
Mr. Chairman,
and offer mitigation.
Here.
Okay.
So the nation has watched the violent manner in which many immigrants and citizens alike have been taken into custody by your officers and your agents. In addition to that, 32 people died while in ICE custody last year, and at least 8 more have died in the first 7 weeks of this year. The numbers are a big increase from prior years. Secretary Noem, yes or no, do you care enough about the human rights of the men, women, and children in your custody to improve the conditions as required by the courts?
Yes, absolutely. We adhere to our federal detention standards, which are higher than virtually all state and local detention standards. We provide medical care to all of our detainees, 3 nutritious meals a day. We take care of them.
Well,
We keep families together.
I appreciate the
We continue to
response,
do
but I
that.
have
You
to tell
talk
you that
about
I
when we have
believe my own
unfortunate
eyes.
situations where
And
individuals
I
have
believe
passed
my own
away.
eyes when I saw firsthand the poor conditions in which people were treated when I visited the detention center in California City. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record reports from California-based and national non-governmental organizations, as well as the California Attorney General's Office, about the deplorable conditions at the California City Detention Facility and a recent court order requiring DHS to address these conditions. If I may, without... Thank you very much. Now, maintaining basic standards should not require court orders. The deplorable conditions at facilities across the country are the result of Secretary NOEM'S failed leadership. Now, since the beginning of the administration, federal judges have found DHS not in compliance with judicial directives on a number of immigration matters. The administration has lost in court on immigration cases more than 4,500 times since October alone, with judges across the country finding that DHS is detaining immigrants unlawfully. And judges appointed by both Republicans and Democrats across the country have threatened to hold the administration in contempt for failure to comply with court orders. This, too, is a result of Secretary NOEM'S failed leadership. Now, despite clear court orders, DHS continues to refuse members of Congress, including myself, access to detention facilities to conduct unannounced oversight. That's our job. This is yet another court order that DHS refuses to comply with, and another example of Secretary NOEM'S failed leadership. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security has cut support and collaboration with state and local elections officials on election security. Secretary NOEM has cut staff at CISA by a third. You've proposed cutting $500 million from the CISA budget. You talk about critical infrastructure, I know it well. And this is after having transferred $144 million from CISA to ICE last year for immigration enforcement. All this at a time when our country is more vulnerable to cyber attacks than ever. Another example of Kristi Noem's failed leadership. And now the department's also playing political games with the distribution of disaster aid, another sign of failed leadership. And on the topic of immigration enforcement, despite the DHS database that supposedly showcases the worst of the worst, a DHS spokesperson recently admitted that the database was full of inaccurate information. What we know is true, based on DHS's own data, is that less than 14% of those arrested by ICE and CBP have previously been charged with or convicted of violent crimes. Lies have become the pattern or practice of Kristi Noem's DHS. In the fall of last year, Secretary Noem asserted that no American citizens have been arrested or detained, despite more than 170 verified reports to the contrary. During a House Homeland Security Committee oversight hearing recently, Secretary Noem claimed that DHS had not deported veterans, not under this administration. And seconds later, Representative Magaziner presented via a video call Se-Jun Park, a veteran who earned a Purple Heart, but was deported by Secretary Noem's DHS. And so it comes as no surprise that not just the Secretary directly, but her representatives within the department have repeatedly lied to the American people about how the officers and agents under her charge have beaten, tased, shot at, and killed. Secretary Noem, before you even knew the facts or even allowed for a credible investigation to be conducted. You called Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists for exercising their First Amendment rights. And just last week, DHS lied yet again about abandoning a Rohingya refugee, a nearly blind man who couldn't speak or understand English, in the parking lot of a closed coffee shop, only for him to die in the freezing streets of Buffalo. These are not accusations, colleagues. I submit for the record reports, declarations, other documents confirming these lies. For all these reasons and more, Secretary Noem, you should resign, or the President should fire you, or the House should vote to impeach.
Did you